On this episode of All-Star Shore, one All-Star is lost, one All-Star is gained, and one All-Star is annoyed after he thinks his girlfriend is at the hospital, then learns she's actually at an anything but clothes party. I'm Lizzie Frizzle, and this is the Recap Corner. Today, we're talking about Season 1, Episode 9, called ABC You Later. In it, some cast members reach their mental breaking points, while others get physically broken by an Exile game that's less of a game and more of like a torture device / car wash. The episode opens amid the sleep time standoff that ended the last one. Chloe has moved her mattress onto the floor next to Joey's bed, and Vanjie, one of Joey's roommates, either wants Chloe to return to her own room or for her and Joey to both move elsewhere together. Later, Vanjie will explain that he just wanted a peaceful sleeping space, one that was separate from the tension that exists between Chloe Joey and the rest of the cast. But Chloe Joey refuse to move out of the bedroom because they don't want to deal with the rest of the cast, who are all watching from behind a partial wall. As they watch the argument, Angelina puts her head on Potro's shoulder. Initially, I thought this was the beginning of the Angelina-Potro flirting storyline that was teased in this episode's trailer. But it turns out that storyline doesn't exist in this episode. It was all smoke and mirrors from the trailer. With his attempts to shoo away Chloe and Joey getting nowhere, a stressed out Vanjie eventually retreats to the sexile room to sleep in solitude. After Trina and Ricardo head outside to rehash the drama and cling on to a space heater, they both think that Joey is spearheading his and Chloe's isolation from the group. They also say that he did the same thing with Angelina at the beginning of filming. I thought that was interesting because to me, it never felt like Angelina and Joey were isolated from the cast. It just felt like they annoyed the cast sometimes. It made me wonder what other cast dynamics were left out of the edited episodes. In the morning, we see footage of the damage done at the party the night before, including, for the second consecutive episode, a close-up shot of a disheveled shoe. So, this episode's description on Paramount Plus teases the fact that one cast member is going to leave the shore or quit the show. After seeing Vanjie's absolute exhaustion after the mattress fight and a shot from this episode's trailer of him walking with his luggage at night, I started to fear that it would be Vanjie who quit the show. Fortunately, the footage of him walking with luggage at night turned out to be him moving into the sexile room, and in the morning, after a good night's rest, Vanjie's more motivated than ever to ensure that Chloe and Joey don't win the money. Yay, spitefulness! Unfortunately, we quickly learn that the actual quitter is Chloe, who tells Joey that she's never experienced so much arguing when she's not even done anything wrong. We see flashbacks to several of Chloe's incidents throughout the season. We see her arguing with Angelina during the night she kicked over a dozen drinks to turn a coffee table into a dance floor. We see earlier that same night when Marina throws the first drink. We see all the way back to the rosé party, the night Chloe called Trina disgusting for wanting to start drama, or joking about wanting to start drama. And finally, we see the prior night, the mattress argument between Chloe, Joey, and Vanjie. Chloe says she's got real-life problems that are more important than whatever's going on between her and the cast. Ultimately, she feels like no one in the group understands her personality. At this point, Bethan joins the conversation. She and Joey both encourage Chloe to do what makes her happy. This is probably the saddest possible way the Chloe, Joey versus the rest of the cast storyline could end. At the beginning of the season, Chloe seemed like a leader and like she was going to be one of the show's stars. Her descent into quitting and into separating from the group started the night Joey destroyed Vanjie's drag show, intensified after Marina threw 2 drinks on her, and never really recovered from there. It was never clear to me why there was so much animosity between Joey, Chloe, and the rest of the cast. Especially because multiple cast members talk in this episode about not wanting Chloe, Joey, especially Chloe, to isolate themselves. Yet somehow the situation only got worse and worse until Chloe felt she had no choice but to leave. To me, it feels like several pieces of the story are missing. Like maybe some major events were cut out of the edited episodes. Or maybe the entire cast was made up of terrible communicators that were drunk the whole time. As Chloe leaves the Shore Villa without saying goodbye to anyone other than Bethan and Joey, she says she's glad to be leaving with a strong friendship with Joey intact. She says they always stuck together even when everyone else was against them, and that is the mark of a good friendship. But is it? After Bethan tells James that Chloe quit, she asks him to keep it a secret, which really confused me because simultaneously, the rest of the cast is already finding out that she's gone.
Don't say anything. Promise to say you won't say anything. Chloe's going.
You're joking.
No.
Something bad's happened. Chloe's leaving, huh?
We see interviews from Ricardo, Potro, and Vanjie, all praising Chloe and expressing regret at her decision to leave. We hear from Angelina, too, who acts shocked that Chloe's gone and says she feels shitty about it. But wasn't that Angelina's entire plan? Keep Joey and Chloe distracted so they don't win any Paradise Games?
Did she leave?
Yeah. Why? She love it, yeah.
What? Are you fucking kidding me right now? What do we do? I actually really liked Chloe. I really did. So I'm feeling a little shitty right now.
Honestly, the entire cast's reaction to Chloe leaving kind of baffled me. Because for the past few episodes, many of them willingly piled on while Chloe and Joey separated themselves from the group. But now that pile-on had consequences, suddenly they all love Chloe and only wanted her to rejoin the group. Once again, I'm really confused. Because if everyone loved Chloe so much and wanted her to stay, why did they keep intensely arguing with her? And I'm not saying Chloe is wholly innocent and never acted messy throughout the season, but it just feels like there's so much context we must be missing to explain how the situation got to be this intense. Ahead of the Exile game, Angelina attempts to form the alliance she should have formed at the Paradise Reward last episode. If Marina and James keep her and Johnny out of the Exile game, then they'll protect Marina and James in return. But between Johnny's insistence that he'd actually do the opposite, as well as his and Angelina's current position as the second place team, Marina and James do choose them to compete. So it'll be Paradise Game losers Gigi and Trina facing off in the Exile game against Gigi's former enemy and Trina's former partner, Angelina and Johnny. After the announcement, Marina reminds the group that the decision isn't personal, even though that's exactly how she took it when Ricardo and Vanjie voted her and Bethan into the Exile game a few weeks ago. I kind of wish there was an opportunity for teams to strategize more about who they're going to send into the Exile game. But especially this late in the season, when you're in the lead like Marina and James, unless you're in an alliance, there's no reason to send any team into the Exile game other than the one with the most points. After learning that she and Johnny are going to be competing in the Exile game, Angelina threatens to come back with a vengeance. But like I said, it's so late in the season. Marina and James are currently in first place, so everyone's going to be targeting them anyway. Angelina thinks that if Johnny hadn't told Marina and James to pick them, then they wouldn't have. But it only makes sense for Marina and James to try to guarantee themselves a spot in the final game for the prize. We know that there's only one more Paradise game, and with the shore scores being what they are, there's only 2 teams that could pass Marina and James in point value. Those teams are Angelina and Johnny, or the team comprised of both Marina and James' former partners, Bethan and Blake. Ahead of the game, the cast receives their clue. It simply reads, "Got wood?" As we arrive at the Exile arena, we see the giant slide that was highlighted in the episode's trailer. Really, it's not so much a slide as it is a soaped-up staircase. I think this might be the first Exile game that isn't themed around a bad smell. Vanjie does say the arena smells like shit, but I think that's probably left over from the last Exile game. Ricardo tells us that the slide is covered in slime and sperm. But don't worry, it's not. It's actually covered in sap, because this Exile game is called Climb That Wood. To play, teams climb a mountain, which is the staircase slide, covered in icky, slippery sap. At the top of the mountain, there are several pine cones. You can take one pine cone at a time, then slide down the mountain and deposit the pine cone in like a holding station down there. After, you reclimb the mountain and do the whole thing again. The first team to collect 4 pine cones at the bottom of the mountain wins the Exile game. They get to keep all the points in their shore score, and they get to avoid a trip to Exile. Maybe the last one of the season? Maybe the second to last? I have a few questions about this Exile game. More than any of the other games we've seen so far this season, it truly feels like the production ran out of ideas. Last Exile game was essentially a shit-throwing contest, and this Exile game is basically just throwing yourself down a flight of stairs. And why is it called Climb That Wood if the cast is climbing a mountain? Is the mountain wooden? At the beginning of the game, Johnny tells us that he'll need to make up for what Angelina is lacking because she's complaining too much to be a good competitor. At first, I was like, how rude. But then when the game begins, Angelina barely contributes and Johnny feels a lot more justified. He's also way faster than everyone else. There's a brief moment early on in the game when Gigi and Trina are in the lead, but there's never a moment when I think they actually have a chance to win. No offense to Gigi and Trina. It's just that Johnny is so much taller. He had a much easier time climbing up the slippery staircase, as evidenced by the fact that he and Angelina win the Exile game in a matter of minutes. They beat Gigi and Trina 4-3 pine cones. Really, Johnny beats them because, like I said, Angelina barely contributes. She only retrieves 1 of their 4 required pine cones, meaning Johnny retrieves 3. If both partners each had to retrieve 2 of the 4 pine cones, then I think this game would have been a lot fairer. More fair? Fairer. Other than Johnny's ability to claw his toes into a slippery staircase, the biggest takeaway from Climb That Wood is that it looked pretty dangerous. Johnny almost takes out Angelina during his first slide down. Then after Gigi does take out Johnny, albeit unintentionally, that leads to Johnny taking out Trina, seemingly intentionally, because he positions his body horizontally before beginning the slide. There's a funny confessional here where Trina talks about being such a tiny, petite woman, and she really reminded me of Blanche from Golden Girls in a way that I really liked.
He's a big guy coming down those stairs, and I'm such a tiny, petite woman, and I went down with him. Felt like a bowling, alley.
But I'm not trying to make light of her injuries. It does seem like getting slammed by Johnny as he careens down a staircase would hurt a lot. He and Gigi also seem injured at the end of the game. They're clutching their hips. And Angelina is too scared to even go down the stairs. Johnny has to climb back up another time and retrieve her like a pine cone.
I feel good about this win.
I know, Johnny. Fuck it, superhero.
Johnny! Oh my god. Are you fucking kidding me?
Congratulations.
A few minutes later, Gigi says her skin is burning. She thinks she's having an allergic reaction to whatever soap mixture was used to create the icky, slippery sap. After pouring water over herself doesn't help, an ambulance is called and Gigi's taken to the hospital. Back at the Shore Villa, there's an announcement waiting for the cast. It says, "You may have noticed you're 1 person down. Chloe has removed herself from the competition, leaving Joey without a teammate. Go meet his new teammate now." We turn the corner, and Joey's new teammate is revealed to be Mike from the most recent season of US X on the Beach and Lindsay Lohan's Beach Club. But he was fired from the beach club after stripping naked and putting a piece of sourdough in his butt in an attempt to impress Sophie and Nathan from Geordie Shore. So we'll see what he does on these last couple All-Star Shore episodes. I'm curious as to why the production decided to replace Chloe, a non-US woman, with Mike, a guy from the US. But maybe they didn't have any other alternates around. In his introductory interview, Mike recites several cliche reality competition phrases.
I don't know what's going on. I'm excited to find out what's going on, but in the end, I really don't care. I'm hoping to shake up the villa, not just fade into the background. It's fucking boring. I have a lot of confidence. I don't care what the prize is. I just like to win. I've been ready since 1992. I came out the womb ready. Let's go.
I also noticed that as Mike introduces himself to the cast, he finds Angelina and Joey sitting alone together. Did Joey crawl back to Angelina now that Chloe's gone? With Gigi still in the hospital, Trina needs a new partner to go to Exile with her. Blake volunteers as Gigi's soon-to-be boyfriend if that clip from the season trailer ever makes it into an episode. More on Trina and Blake's Exile experience later. First, to get to know the group better, Mike suggests an anything but clothes or ABC party. The cast is excited. Marina and James wear leaves, or a leaf, singular, if you're James. New teammates Joey and Mike wear trash bags together. Karime and Ricardo are both in caution tape, and yes, you guessed it, pasties. Bethan's wearing tinsel. Potro and Vanjie are wearing maybe curtains. They have the closest thing to fabric on.
I created this costume, but it's kind of fancy. And everything else is wearing ridiculous stuff.
As the party begins, Gigi returns from the hospital, feeling better after receiving an MRI and what she calls real medication. She's still wearing her paper hospital gown and matching paper underwear, so she's already dressed for an anything but clothes party. After hearing that Blake went to Exile for her, Gigi accidentally blurts out that she loves him. I thought this was a really funny moment because in my last video, I guessed that Bethan would accidentally say I love you to Johnny. Speaking of, Gigi asks Johnny if he's in love. He says no. Later, but seemingly unrelated to Johnny saying he's not in love, he and Bethan argue about the future of their relationship. Bethan is upset because Johnny keeps telling her that he's going to miss her, and Bethan is interpreting it like he's trying to break up with her. Johnny's confused because when they met a couple weeks ago, Bethan told him she was cold-hearted and couldn't catch feelings. Really, what Bethan is actually upset about is that she caught feelings for Johnny when she didn't want to. Johnny admits that, what do you know, he caught feelings too.
We like each other. It's very obvious. You know?
Yeah.
You have feelings for me. And guess what, baby? I have feelings for you as well. Because I wake up in the morning and I think about you. I'm thinking about you 24/7. Right?
Elsewhere, Potro and Vanjie hope for the start of a new romance, or at least a new fling between Mike and Ricardo. Next, Potro and Vanjie move on to talk about some of their other castmates. Even though Gigi said she loves Blake, Potro and Vanjie question her intentions with him. While at the ABC party, they think Gigi isn't acting like she misses Blake enough.
Getting injured and all this stuff, going to the hospital.
She wasn't like, oh, I feel sad that he's not here.
It doesn't look like she's missing him.
No.
Panties. Hot panties.
Potro also wonders if Gigi faked her injury at the Exile game to get out of going to Exile. He says he's suspicious because Gigi is walking well and partying. But would an allergic reaction cause you to not be able to walk? I don't know. I'm genuinely asking. Now it's time to talk about Exile for real. This one's called Spooky Forest. It really reminded me of the CW reality show Killer Camp. So if you liked this Exile and you haven't seen Killer Camp, highly super recommend. To begin, Trina and Blake take a dark walk through a scary forest trail. Eventually, they find bear spray, a picnic basket, and a welcome note that reads, "To survive the night in this forest, you will need to find supplies, build shelter, and forage for food. Be on the lookout because strange things happen in these woods. Most who have entered have not found their way out. Will you?" So after taking a break at the crappy camel stalls, we're back with another escape room Exile. As Trina and Blake start pitching a tent, they hear a series of scary animal noises.
The fuck was that?
It sounds like a dying dog.
Oh my
A coyote or something.
I don't know what that was. I've never heard that noise before in my life. Vampires?
Vampires? I believe in vampires. I'm hoping it was an animal in the woods, and if it's not, then I'm gonna start praying.
Me personally, I would probably think they're part of the escape room, go running toward them, then get mauled by a bear because I left the spray at the campsite. Next, the duo wanders the woods searching for their supplies. They find some cans of beans. I guess that's the foraging for food. Then later, they find sleeping bags with a roll of coins and another note hidden inside. This one reads, "Use me being the coins, to claw your way out of the forest." Trina and Blake walk a little bit farther into the woods, then find an arcade claw machine with a cell phone inside. Next to the claw machine is a working vending machine. We learn that there are 6 coins inside the roll. Trina and Blake can use them to try up to 12 times to retrieve the cell phone from the claw machine, or they can use the coins to buy food out of the vending machine so they have something to eat in Exile. If they're able to retrieve the cell phone from the claw machine, they can use it to call a cab to escape Exile. Initially, Trina ignores the claw machine and zeroes in on the Snickers bar inside the vending machine. She really wants that Snickers until Blake shows her the cell phone.
Taxi service? Or food? What is this, a taxi
I want a
service?
Snickers.
Oh my god, we have to get this fucking...
Snickers.
No, look.
No, you look. Look at
There's
this.
a phone in here.
There's a phone?
There's a phone in here.
I think Trina had the right idea with the Snickers. Claw machines are notoriously difficult to use successfully when you're trying to pick up a bulky stuffed animal. So trying to pick up a cell phone seems legitimately impossible. I think my best shot would be to try and pick up the stuffed animal directly under the cell phone in the hopes that the cell phone would just get scooped up with it. But after 3 failed attempts at that, I just get Trina the Snickers and use the rest of the coins to get whatever chips I could. Maybe some combos if they had them. Trina and Blake choose to use all 6 coins in the claw machine, which results in them having no cell phone and no food. But they each win a stuffed pony. Back at their campsite, Trina and Blake find a video of Gigi partying and drinking back at the ABC party at the villa. Blake seems legitimately hurt. He tells us that he thought Gigi was going to be in the hospital for days, or would maybe even have to go home based on how severe her allergic reactions seemed. The episode ends on the cliffhanger of whether or not Gigi faked her injuries to get out of going to exile. Personally, I'm not going to speculate about that because it's a slippery slope to accuse someone of milking or making up an injury. Unless we're talking about Jasmine on the current Big Brother season. Next time on All Star Shore, it's the penultimate episode and the last Paradise game. It looks like it's going to involve digging through kiddie pools of Jell-O. We also hear that someone gets disqualified, just like Joey and Angelina did way back in the beginning of the season. After the disqualification reveal, we hear Gigi screaming. It is exactly the same clip of her screaming that was used at the partner swap cliffhanger a few episodes ago.
You are disqualified.
No fucking way!
We also see Angelina wanting to go to the hospital, but it's not clear why. Though it seems like her injury is not going to be as big of a storyline as Johnny's frustration is. We hear him tell people that his partners have consistently held him back throughout the experience. And lastly, we see the cast at a scary church set. Thanks for watching. Come back next Tuesday for another All-Star Shore recap. And in the meantime, if you're so inclined, please like and subscribe. Also, if you like to read, I'm posting weekly write-ups about the Challenge USA on dvrzar.com, and those are posted every Wednesday. Thanks again. See you next time. Bye.
Guys, I have an announcement to make. Can we all gather around?
Oh my God.
And
no drama.
I think I'm bored, James.
We don't like no more speeches, no more gatherings.
Come on, guys. TikTok.